All right, today is Monday, August 28th. This is the meeting of the Facilities Committee. It's roughly 6 p.m. With us today, well, right around the table, we have Mr. Drew Bishop, who's our business administrator, Keith McCarrick, board member, Mr. Craig Howard, who's the director of facility operations and head of safety. And we have two special guests with us. We have Mrs. Jennifer Cenovitis and Mr. Todd Amsler from the high school. I'm your chairman, J.P. Prego. This is Melanie Cunningham, board president, also a member of the committee, and of course our esteemed superintendent, Dr. Alan Hirsch. So we'll start off with a, can we get a motion for the approval of the May 15th minutes?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So we'll jump around here a little bit on the agenda, and we have a special presentation that we'll get to first about the high school seniors parking spot discussion.
So I did prepare two slides. One really is the focal point, and then I'll kind of walk you through. So I should preface this with,
Can we get on the big screen?
yeah, I didn't know, can you air team
I
it?
think so. Can we do that? Big screen? Okay, my computer, you have your computer.
Oh, I
I'm
don't
so
know.
sad it's yours.
I don't,
Send it to me.
Oh, send it to Dr.
okay. All right, so while that's, I shared it. So while that's being done, so last year we had students approach us with some ideas of things that they wanted to do to kind of build climate sense of belonging senior year. It is something my home district does, and they have asked to paint their parking spots. And so, of course, my first reaction was, that's a lot of work, right? And then after I did some research and I spoke with my home district,
Who is your home district?
Northwestern Lehigh.
Okay.
And so this is something they've been doing for 10 to 15 years. And so the first slide you'll see is examples. The bottom is the actual high school where students get to paint their parking spots. And so in front of you, you will have an actual application for students, but I did want to highlight a few things throughout this. So I had mentioned something to Mr. Howard and Dr. Roach, and it was the belief that we should bring it to all of you so you can kind of see it. And you weren't, I know as sitting in your seats often, you don't know what's happening, and so we felt this was a great opportunity to share it with you. And so as we prepare, so I'll just share it like this, and then he'll just put it up. So basically, what we have come up with the why, right? So this year we were challenged by Dr. Roach about what is our why, and so we really want our students to have a sense of belonging and pride of being UPHS students. And the students reported to me that their painting parking spots also gives them a chance to really highlight their artistic talents while building school spirit and creating traditions. And so that was really important to them. And so, as you can see, this would be an example. Now ours would look more like the bottom, a little bit more clean cut within the white lines. But I just wanted you to see kind of what that looks like from an aerial shot. I think it's super cool looking. That is cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's washable paint, correct?
It is. So throughout this, I'll walk you through. So slide 2 will highlight who can do it, how much. Everyone's like, how much is it going to cost,
Yeah.
right? And so, Mr. Amsler and I, obviously it's just for seniors. They must have a current parking permit. Some of them are eligible for free parking permits based on Keystone scores or senior privilege, or I'm going to mess that.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways that students can get free parking passes. Senior privilege, there's certain requirements that they have to meet, like they can't have any discipline referrals their junior year, no unexcused absences their junior year. So there's some things that they have to meet to qualify for a free senior privilege parking pass. And then this year as well, we've rolled out free Keystone privilege parking pass. So if students have passed all 3 of the Keystone exams, they can apply, we have their scores, and we'll give them a free parking pass for passing all 3 of the Keystones. We think that there was a lot of talk with kids bringing it to us, like, hey, you know, this district paints their spots, we think it'd be cool to, you know, again, you know, build that sense of belonging and has some pride in the school. And a lot of the kids will ask, what does our $40 go to that we pay for parking? You know, so right now this year, I think the Faculty Action Committee or Student Council are going to kind of cover all the costs of that, so there's going to be no cost for anything. And this fits in with this year, for the first time, if you've noticed at the high school, we numbered all the parking spots. So before, when kids would get parking passes, they would get a pass, they could park anywhere, there was no assigned spots. But this year, when you get a parking pass, you have an assigned spot. It is your spot, nobody else can park in it. So kind of being able to put their own little twist on it and make it their own as a senior, we think would be a great thing for our kids.
So supplies, like we said, it would be a water-based latex exterior paint, which over time will fade. And, you know, hopefully if you get enough snow, not like last year, but snow and ice and rain, it does kind of wash itself away and dissipate. Sometimes it doesn't, and so when it doesn't, part of this is what we would be asking for some type of like black latex, you know, just paint to cover that spot.
Or would it pressure wash off?
Or pressure washer, yeah.
And that we would need, you know, the custodial staff at the high school at some point to pressure wash that off, or however we decide we're going to move forward with kind of wiping the spaces clean for the freshmen for next year. Yeah.
Student council.
Yeah, or the Envirothon, or community service, or, there's lots of options, but I was like, we can't speak for them just yet until we talk to them. So we would cover, you know, with the committees, those supplies, and then if there were certain colors we would buy, and then if anybody else, they would have to get it approved to use it. And I've really highlighted, I borrowed other schools' applications and came together. So on page, you know, the first page, you're gonna see what can't be in it. What, you know, who does the applications go to? They must be approved. What's not allowed, what is allowed, right? And so that was really important. You know, we went out there and said, like, it really is to express your artistic style and who you are. You know, maybe you've committed to a college already and you're super pumped, so you put that on there. And we will be monitoring this. I mean, we're gonna select dates, we're gonna have them come, they're gonna paint, they must finish that day. That's the option. If it's outside of the application process and so you'll see that if you flip to page 5, they will be responsible for submitting a drawing, not electronic, and it must be in color. So we know exactly what they're putting on there, and I know I'm micromanaging a little bit, but.
Would rather have that.
It's okay.
Yeah, me too. Like, I feel like if we can, and he'll tell you.
Kids.
Exactly. So we wanted to know what we were getting, and then if it wasn't that, then we could follow the procedures in place, which we outlined here for consequences. On page 4, you will see a contract, so it is going to require a parent signature or guardian signature as well, because it is school property, and so, you know, we want them to see what we're asking our kids to abide by, and that what the consequences are. So they're not like, oh, like I didn't know, because it's not in our handbook yet. So we wanted to be sure we afforded families the opportunity to review this with their students. Page 3 is basically a list of our parking spot code of conduct contract. What will you do, what won't you do? And so this could be tweaked. This is just really the closest to an example that I could provide you, and what we felt we could live by and stick by. So this is obviously yours to keep, review. So we would then, you know, students would pick this up, they would be responsible for submitting a drawing, they would get a stamp of approval, copied version. So we would keep their original. We would be out there with them. If they chose to purchase a paint a color that we didn't use or have, they would have to get it approved. Like we would have to literally like initial on the top that it's water-based latex. No glitter.
I was just picturing glitter, that's funny you said that.
Well, no, so I can do. It's very difficult to get up. So they can't use any spray paint, glitter paint, I see it, or here, reflective paint or anything fluorescent. So it really does have to be, I hate to call it wall color, but, exterior color. And then, just the last, glitch, we would really have to figure out how we're gonna, with the cleaning. So if a student, there is vandalism to a spot, we would go and have to cover it up, and we would either give them the opportunity to repaint that spot, or if there's another spot open, to move their spot while we, take care of that one. But we are prepared to do that. Follow through with discipline as need be. It could be a potential loss of senior privileges, driving, parking privileges, should they vandalize, with anyone's stuff. I mean, it's vandalism. So we've really covered all of the questions. They're super excited, they're anxious, they wanted to know, who do we have to talk to? And I said, hold on, let's present it, and see who we can, and we think it's good for our kids. I don't know if I covered
Absolutely.
really.
Yeah, it's cute. That's a cute idea.
So I got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
Do you guys have any?
No, go ahead.
So, talk about the type of paint that we're using and do you have any idea how long it's gonna last? Because if we're talking and we get a snow or something like that and a plow comes through and cleans out the
Yeah.
parking lot, is it gonna scrape up and take all the paint and then?
Yeah,
It's a
working
concern.
on- Yeah.
Yeah.
So that actually came up, I can speak from personal experience, I asked the exact same thing.
Mhm.
Like, oh, this is so great. And they're like, it only looks this great because it hasn't really snowed or iced,
Right.
right? So sometimes it does scrape it, and the kids are fully aware of that. They know that it may look great till like Christmas,
Yeah.
right?
They might have to redo it or something.
Or they've said, we're okay with the way it is, or, I just know that the research I've done is once it's kind of gone, it's kind of gone, but it's that initial coming together, representing who you are.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are all the seniors' spots gonna be in the same area, or are they gonna be sporadic? Because we were just talking about.
No,
I
the-
know they want to pick their number,
Right.
yeah.
They could be all over the place. It's, the parking passes are assigned by number, first come, first served. So they could be all over the parking lot. It's not just gonna be one specific section. So it could kind of be a,
And it'd be better to have it all like together.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
Maybe for the clean off, but.
Right.
Yeah, and
see,
Well, that's kind of the question I was asking, essentially how many students actually take part in the parking. I know that juniors are allowed
Mhm.
to park also, so you got the two different grades there that would be using the parking spots. I was wondering if you were going to section them off in a certain area, like maybe the first 8 rows of each 8 spaces of each row going across, or like the first 2 rows across the front of the building or something. So I was wondering how it's going to be organized like that also.
yeah, we haven't talked about like chunking off the parking lot by juniors and seniors. We have 300 student parking spaces in the student lot. From past experience, I don't think we really get anywhere near the 300 passes given out. But the last couple of years, the parking lot has been pretty full, especially kind of since our return from COVID. Since a lot of our, so Western Center before COVID, you couldn't drive. It was bus only. And then COVID hit and that came, and they kind of, there's a process so our students can drive to Western. So now we have a few more students who are driving. But yeah, we haven't sectioned it off like junior, senior. It's just first come, first serve. Once those spots are gone, once the 300 spots are gone, they're gone.
How many parking spots do you have on that side of the building, approximately?
On that whole entire side of the building?
Yeah, where the student parking is.
So there's 300 student spots, there's 18 staff spots, and then however many handicap spots.
And then there's 2 athletic trainer spots.
I included those in the staff.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, in the
Okay.
staff ones.
so I don't know, you're kind of thinking the same thing, like if we could somehow group them together.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, you want to show it off to your friend too, and you'll be like, oh, I'm all the way over there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder, I think we've already given out some parking permits.
Mhm.
And we can always retract them. You know what I mean, and say.
Or this year could be
Fresh
the
idea.
test year, and then,
Yeah.
improve upon it next
What do
year.
you do,
So
just
start
throw a
that.
random number for the kid?
Yeah.
That applies? You just throw a random number? for the
Typically, they go in order.
So yeah, so the way the student parking lot is set up, so if you imagine like the baseball side field and then the roadside field, so we started numbering down from 300 on towards the roadside. So our higher numbers are located over on that side. And the reason we did that is because if we don't fill those spots, then it leaves those spots open for the parent pickup is that first lane. So in an ideal world, we'd love for that to be open, so that gives some space as parents come in there to pick up.
That's a great idea.
So those are the last spots that we fill. So when we're assigning the numbers, we're starting with one, which start over on the baseball field. So we'll fill from the baseball
Okay, from
field
the outside
side
in.
over, correct.
Okay,
That was the process there and how we decided to number the way we numbered.
that's great. I was thinking that you might give them preferential treatment so they don't have to walk as far. but-
So, we thought about that, and whenever we were talking about, okay, how do we want to number the spots? We wanted it to be in a fashion that it was easy to follow and it wasn't just random numbers all over the place. And, so there were several factors that we considered. But we definitely considered, do we give seniors like the prime spots right up front, or how do we want to kind of structure that? But ultimately, we decided just to, the numbering system that we have, it's really easy to follow. One starts here, it works to 300. There's a pattern in how the spots are numbered, so kids can figure out, oh, this is my number. They can figure it out based off of the other numbers on the spot as they're pulling in and driving in.
So,
I think it's a cute idea.
I
Can I
said,
get a spot if I don't have a car?
Yeah, right.
Bicycle.
I'm saying, if I don't have a car, but I want to feel like I belong and put my name on a parking spot,
That's a good question.
and I qualify for the free spot, can I get a spot? You'll get people to ask that question.
Sure.
great question.
We've never had that. So that would be a,
Just dotted over print, that's why. You'll
so
have
Sure.
I mean, my first response would be yes, because if there is a spot to give,
If the answer is no, then it's the haves and the have-nots. I have a car, I can drive myself,
correct.
then I get to do this fun thing to feel part of the group. If I don't have a car, or is there another area where I can decorate?
Sure.
That would be, again, I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, yeah.
Where the question gets there.
That's a real good question.
Yeah, it is, and I don't know that we've, thought about
I don't know.
that. And so my first response would be yes, maybe we choose the spots for our parent pickup, the 300 to the spots that we hope may not have cars parked in them. That would be something we would have to discuss, come up with a plan.
My other concern when I heard you say it tonight was to commit the custodial crew in the summer to be doing that work, because I can see it could take a whole week, and we barely make
We don't have that time.
the week in terms of all the floors being done and all the work being done. So I think that we finding out what the plan would be, and not know, it's hard because you don't know what it will take to clear your one spot, if it's 3 minutes or if it's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of why I suggested, the student council or groups participate.
Volunteer opportunities.
Yeah, I would, I think if, versus that, I think what I would do is look for students who would do community service, whether it be in the fall, or your Envirothon kids, who could come out and really help assist with that, clean up and prep for the year. The other option would be to, if we could start community service early, we would have those incoming seniors who could do community service, come and help with that process. I'm happy to put boots in them. I just mean it's a very hands-on process.
When you say community service, do you have a club? Do you have clubs that are actually doing community service for specific projects, or?
So we have both. So we have different clubs that will do different community service projects around the school, but we also have a class at the high school that's community service, where students will sign up and they work with a mentor. It could be out in the community, it could be in our school building where they're working with a specific teacher, it could be a different building, where kids go out and they get that community service experience, and it's kind of supervised by a mentor. We have several of our students who, they'll use Mr. Bardman and Mr. Moyer as mentors, where they're just assigning different projects and things. So it could be something that could be assigned to one of our community service students that they're actually being mentored by, that could do that on a day, a weekend after school. So that could be a possibility, as well as involving some of our other clubs who do community service, not only for our school, but out in the community as well, that we could maybe kind of lean on them for a little bit of support and help to get the spots prepared.
I thought I knew that you had clubs like that in any club, but I just wanted to verify that. Traditionally, when people hear community service, it's not always in the brightest light of day for that. It's more punitive than
Correct.
volunteerism.
Correct.
I think a more solid cleanup plan would be something to hear in terms of, again, I don't want to speak for Mr. Howard, but I'm not sure if committing a period of time in the summer to that, because that's when you want it done. It's got to get done in that timeframe. Even if you repainted them, now you're at a cost of what that would be. I don't know what it costs to paint the lines or even the visitor spots that are going on over at the high school as well, but that just caught me as a, I can see that as being a concern in terms of the
Maybe
group
we
that's
can have
there. And even community service, I'm not sure how many students are going to sign up for community service when it's a little bit of manual labor.
Yeah, and I think if we also said to seniors, like, this is a privilege, and then we need a group to sign up to maintain it,
Unless you're going to be specific about what spots you're giving out to people that are going to paint their next spots that they paint over. I mean, there's a different way to
right.
look at it as well. They can clean that slate as well. If you know that spots, as you guys were saying, 23 to 28 are all painted, and when you're signing up for your thing, you're going to paint your spot. That may be one way to say, well, we know you're going to just go right on top of the other spot.
Right.
That would be, it could be a cleansing piece, although a couple years from now, it'll be all thick with paint like this.
That in a lot of the applications, you did see that was a contingency of painting your spot, that the last week of finals, we would have to facilitate that or whomever, so they would have to go out and paint their spot over.
Maybe we have a junior, how do I want to say it? A junior car space wash,
There you go.
so that they could be ready for the next year, sometime in the summer, like a day in the summer.
Yeah, I think that we need a better, just to kind of go back and talk about
I
that.
also like the idea, if they paint it, they clean
Yeah, that's
it.
a
I
good
mean,
too.
at the end of the day, that's just part of the responsibility. So, that could be an option as well. They paint it, they clean it.
That sounds great, but a senior heading out to do what they got to
Yeah.
do.
They're gonna say, yeah, too bad.
Thanks for my diploma.
Yeah.
Yeah, see you later.
And we're not going to sit there and have an argument with a
Yeah,
parent.
before they get their
why-
diploma,
Why
that's
someone's
what-
not getting their diploma because they didn't clean their spot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so I heard that, we need a little better, we'll work on that, and definitely come back and share that.
My last question is, I think this is terrific, and I would love to do this in high school. I have zero artistic ability at all. So is there any club or anything like that that are willing to step in? Like, if I could work with somebody, be like, hey, this is what I kind of want to put on my design, are you willing to help me, work with me?
Maybe
try
they
to
chalk
get
it
done?
out and then you paint it.
All right.
Like a
You
paint by
work,
number.
you work together on this, this year, this is what we're going to submit, and
So my initial thought was, I don't have a immediate answer for this year, but long-term, community service with one of our art teachers, to help design that for them, with them.
Okay.
And then be available to go out when we're there, on Saturdays, and paint it. I have seen some art parking spots that aren't very, artsy. I mean, they're just not, but they're painted and they may have their name and they might have where they're headed, so that was my long-term vision for that.
Yeah, the only other thing I could see is potentially like our art club, maybe, if, looking longer term, if they, get involved in supporting that, the process of painting spots, it could be an option.
Okay. Any other questions or anything?
No?
So it sounds like
Good
just
idea.
coming back with a little bit better of a cleanup plan for the end of the year? or-
Yeah. And then an answer to if a student doesn't have a car but would like to paint a spot,
Yep.
and then if there are any clubs, so we can bring that back.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you'll get anyone that doesn't, but I think if it's about belonging, that would be, or another spot, if we don't have spots, another place to paint, if that's
Sure.
what it is.
Right.
No, I think that's a great idea. You don't want to hear my other option for that.
Yeah.
So, the paint tiles, but that gets into a whole other thing, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cute. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah, that
You're
one.
free to go.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll circle back to the beginning of the agenda.
Yep, thank you.
Old business. Now, I'm just going to turn it over to you, Craig.
Okay, son.
So you put this full agenda together, so you're up with the gun to get through it.
The first one. Well, in summer, my biggest thing when I got hired here,
Thank you.
when I started, it was to basically to finish out what Doug already started. Doug had summer projects of 11 different projects up on the board. we were able to get through mostly all of it.
That's great.
So for the summer work, we was able to do the upgrades on the roof. So the upgrades on the roof of the office of the 4 or 5 center is complete. We had the high school basketball gyms, reciprocal basketball courts replacement. That also was complete. We improved and replaced sidewalk sections of concern that was in the high school. That's also complete. Our softball field draining project. Now, they've been giving me a little bit of headache. I had a meeting with them today. They understand how upset to some degree that we are as a community and we are as a team that this is not done.
What was the,
Vacations,
what was the original deadline based on their start date? Was
August
it-
28th.
No, with the regular start date, it was August 20, I mean, they didn't start until,
No,
They started it.
But they
July.
confirmed me that they will have it done by August 28th. I even
That's
have the
today.
email.
Right.
Yeah, so Rob, the gentleman who's our consultant, who's there with Stone, what's his name, Stonewood, because Stonewood. Because our
Sounds
old,
right.
yes, our old contractor for, they were naming the same thing too, yeah, but we got it, that's what we do. Anyway, so Stonewood, he was on vacation, the owner. We was waiting on a couple of supplies, which is understandable, but the supplies sat there for a week and a half. And he was nowhere to be found, and he wasn't returning our calls. So Rob just got back off of vacation, I had a meeting with everybody, and now they will be expediting everything this week. They will also be working the weekend as well. So we'll
So
see
what's
how,
the new?
they won't give me that just yet. So I'm waiting on that. They won't give me that, because I held their feet to the fire on that. And their communication was very lacking on their part. So I'm hoping to get that done, hopefully by next week, the end of next week, or maybe the week after. I mean, all the perimeter is done. All they're doing is just putting everything in the ground, covering up with dirt, and putting in our path. So as far as the trenching and the things of that aspect, they was able to get through that, but they just stopped. One went on vacation, another one went on vacation, and then we was waiting for parts.
Is this something weather dependent, like we get?
Yeah, some degree when it rains and stuff like that.
They can't
it does
do
stop some
anything.
things, yes. It does slow some things down. But there's other things that could be done when it is raining. It's just that, I guess, they're afraid they might melt. So he will be on site tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Okay.
I will be out there with him at 7:15.
Yep.
So that's how that's going to go.
can you go back up to the improvement for the sidewalks? How about the sidewalk that was the crack between the parking lot and the street?
The one that we talked about going down
Is that
right
done
there,
yet?
we're doing that now.
Okay, so that's good.
I can't think of the gentleman's name. Brian is taking care of that. Brian Bender is taking care of that. He'll be doing that tomorrow. Hopefully, as long as it doesn't rain. Don't really mean get it done today because we was a little afraid of the rain.
So that's the area between the parking lot and walking into the street.
They go to the little gully thing,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be a wildflower
Something like
thing, yeah.
And that's pretty smooth, sir. It's there's just a little lip on there that we just gonna, and we're gonna do it in-house. Me and Dave was talking about it. We could be able to grind that down and then just make it nice and smooth, with some,
Yep.
with some top coat.
Good.
So we'll be able to take care of that tomorrow. The tennis court practice repairs, I wasn't impressed. I have a picture of that. I have some slides behind you guys. I wasn't happy about that. And you'll see in the slides.
You want to do those now? Or you
Yeah,
wanna-
I wasn't, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So, he's meeting me out here in the middle of the week, and me and him will discuss some options when it comes to that. But this is just some of the pictures that I just wanted to put together. So this is what we have, this is what we did with the stripes.
That looks so nice.
That's what we did in athletic wing.
Yeah.
So
Was
everybody,
that in the plans that Doug had put together, that like painting in the athletic wing?
no, sir, that was more so of the team. Me, Dave, Scott, just something that wing was extremely dirty. The paint was horrible, we had marks all over the walls. So what we did was, we repainted it. We cleaned it off, repainted it.
So it's repainted with the white all the way up to the ceiling?
Yes, with the white up to the
And
ceiling.
then add the stripe.
And you'll see the stripes. And then with Dave and Miss Petty, they wanted the UP sign, so we was able to get a stencil. And the stencil only cost us about $40.
Nice.
So we was able to put the stencil in the front, and we were able to put the stencil in the back, right above the training center. The morale of the kids love it. We got good feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the courts that we did, that Doug had in progress. So you see, everything is nice and beautiful and glass backboard. They did a decent job on that.
How about the damage from the trolley train. Did you get to
We
that?
thought, yeah, that's already taken care of, yeah.
Do you know about that?
Spalding
I know
came back
what
and
you're
took care of
What's
that.
the-
So we had a little bit of, so when the starters came in the summertime, when they was rolling around the court, they damaged part of the floor. They dug into it a little bit more than what they needed to do. So we had the guy that come out who does our coating on our floor, he was able to repair that as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so that was just part of something that he took care of us while he was here. So instead of him putting 2 coats on the floor this year, like I was discussing with JP, he only put 1 coat on the floor due to the damage of the floor and how old it is. Eventually, that's something we have to, expedite and get replaced. And the gentleman was very infatuated to where he was basically telling me that, in so many words, if we don't get it replaced, we'll call him back. Because he does all of the courts in the district, and he said his name is on that. So that's the way he felt. So that's a different conversation I'm sure we'll have in a later date, and we'll get him back here.
That's going to be on a project plan with
10-4, sir.
the other, right there.
10-4,
Yeah.
10-4. So that was, so this is the picture of some of this, we did some of this work in-house. Some of this track I was able to get, I had to get, a contractor. But a lot of stuff we did in-house, the no parking sign, some of the things we did here, the visitor signs, that was all done in-house. My team did that. So they did a lot of work out there as well as the contractor, they came in and redid the parking lot. That's the 4 or 5 center. This is the whole new swing set that we put over here.
Oh, yeah.
And then eventually, I know we was talking about a gate for that, but right now, everything is good. Art is very happy with it. We also
We
put
did the
new
whole thing
mulch.
around it, right? Yeah.
We did
Yeah,
the whole
that's
new
nice.
mulch. And Doug had an option of a, sort of like almost like I want to say like a rubber kind of mat type. And they was able to throw that in for us.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they was able to get that for us.
That
Doug
looks
put
so
that in
much
motion.
better than what it used to.
Yes, sure does.
Yeah, Doug put that in motion for us, and the gentleman was able to put that in for us, so that was great. And then the last thing is the 42-inch jersey booms that we're talking about. This was something that we were talking about for the high school, to create a barrier to where when you're driving into the high school, where I want you to park at,
Yeah.
up in that area, barricade that off. And just put a little more of a sequence in the high school, or even any school for that matter. It just gives you, it's like what you see at concerts, so it keeps kids off the street. It's more like I call it like a defined line, is what I like to call it. And with the security team that we're having now at the high school and at the different schools, I believe that'll work as well with just certain areas that we can shut off, that we can't have, people just can't just ride in there and just have access to do whatever they want to do.
So in the state police report of the vulnerability, specifically at the high school, this was discussed. So if you happen to drive back by the high school where it says do not enter, which everyone enters, to go back by the loading dock, and that type of thing. And if you were to stay straight past the school, pretty much right at that, I don't know what that big contraption is, but once you pass that, there's a little doorway, and then there's the high school cafeteria. And that they do not want cars parking next to the cafeteria, literally closer than you and I are to where kids eat. Because cars can be left, and on the right-hand side of that, there's still a paved pathway, but on the right of there is gravel, and people park there. So putting the barriers in there would allow everything to go back to the dumpsters, to the loading dock and all that kind of stuff, but no one would be able to drive straight through.
That's good.
So that would inconvenience a lot of people, because they go in the morning. If you go there tomorrow at 8:30, you'll see a whole bunch of cars, because people have decided that's where they park. And this is, again, based upon the recommendation of the police to not have people park so close. And we're looking at all of the dumpsters, because some of them are like a 4 or 5 are too close to the building, all those types of things. And my standard statement, I guess the camera's on, is we can't go ahead and do armed officers and not look at everything else. We have to continue to do this work because it's important. So this will be inconvenient for people that want to drive all the way through the back of the high school. Now, in the event that an emergency vehicle, something needs to get back there, those things get popped, the water comes out, it takes a little while, and then they're moved. I mean, that's the nature of what
Yes, all
that
the
is.
drink now.
So that's what that's for. They're filled with water, and they're a barrier to park back there, so they can get back there to a certain point, but not all the way through. And we'll have to put some do not enter signs on the other side. You can get to like the boilers and stuff like that. You just got to come in the other side, but you're doing work at that point. You're not just parking. And if you walk back there on a Friday night after a game, park is crazy. So.
And the great thing about these is that you can put fences on top of these. They come with poles, and you can really fence it in, to really fence it in. We can put signs up there, and it will look nice. It will look something that would be out of place.
Yeah, I think 2 of those would just cut off that driveway for at least the initial piece. There'll be moans and groans, and We've already told Paula some of her employees may have to walk further because they come in and work the kitchen and they go right there, but, you know, we don't want to have a situation
It's a
where
safety
someone
issue.
parked right next to
That's what it is at the end of the
literally
day.
this far away from where they're eating,
Yeah.
it's not good.
No.
So that's what the Jersey.
So that was just some of the pictures that I wanted to show. I will have more as we go, as I move forward with my meetings, a little bit better than, I know JP, that's something JP talked about, that's something we will have from now on.
Okay.
Let's see, we are at,
Good job. Pictures are great, Jim. Pictures.
so school security, the armed security guards are hired. They started, today, which was great.
Are we fully staffed with that?
Not fully staffed. We are missing 2, and that's just because of the background checks.
We're still waiting.
Yeah,
to go
we had
through
one
Middle
those.
school unarmed.
Yep.
And high school part-time unarmed.
Oh, okay.
And we have
The
one
armed
starting on
ones are all-
Tuesday
Armed
for the
ones are all
household.
in.
And then we'll be good, yeah, so we'll be
Okay.
good. And she's a female too, so that's great. We was very ecstatic to get a female officer that could go into the ladies' bathrooms and
Yeah, right.
and do certain things
That
that
makes sense.
the men can't do. His swing set at the 4 or 5 is complete. The tech at the Ed Center update, but the ductwork for the high school is already being ripped out. The
Isn't that
Mr.
Woodshire?
Moyer, yes, his name Mr. Moyer?
Moyer, yeah.
Moyer, yes. He took care of all of that to where next week they'll be starting to realign the new ductwork. The contractor will be in there with Mr. Moyer. And then he's actually making that into a class project.
That was
So
good.
his
Perfect.
students will be observing as they run the duct and will be able to assist. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
The Marlboro Elementary boiler, that's still in installation. That'll be done by September. The only reason why it's not done now because we had a couple of leaks like we discussed,
Mhm.
major leaks. So they're around picking everything up, getting everything together, making sure everything's nice and tight. The athletic wing hallway was repainted as we saw.
That was great.
Yeah, a lot of good feedback on that. A lot of the students
really
and the
nice.
teachers
Yep.
and the kids were amazed by it. They really,
Really brightened it up.
they really enjoyed that. That was something, I told the team that, they were really happy about that. We are still working on a feasible study, still reading through that. I will bring more to the table every single month about our feasible study, just to bring different ideas, pick you guys' brain, and just so we can stay on top of it.
There's a ton of stuff in there.
Oh, trust me.
Yeah.
A lot of opportunities.
I go to sleep, I told Dr. Allen that when I can't sleep, I just read that.
That's
Yeah.
it.
I mean, like seriously, I'm
So it was
serious.
policy 707, you did
I
that.
mean, something too. That's another thing we gotta discuss about getting all this equipment together and hopefully get this.
I asked for this
on
item to
eBay.
be on here to kind of get some direction from the board in terms of how do you want to proceed through this year with this feasibility study? I agree 100%, there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
And I think administratively, we're not necessarily 100% in tune with exactly every recommendation in there.
Sure.
I mean,
That's what it was gonna be. You know
Right,
that.
of course, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
That was the
Um,
big
right,
picture.
Right, big
The
picture
really
type
big
of thing. How do you
picture.
want to dissect that? I think there's a financial aspect of that in terms of if there is any push. I think the high school is the one, as we know through the Giza study. And what is missing from the Giza? What is there on that piece to really take a look at? So I'm interested to see, not just bringing it up every month, but how do we want to approach that? Do we want to have a separate meeting dedicated to that? Do we want to think about strategically, or maybe we're like, hey, that's a January topic, let's get, I don't know, whatever it is, I just want to.
No, I don't think I want to put it off at all. I think I'd like to have it on here. I think you and I need to sit down and kind of discuss and go through and say, these are like,
The
The hot-
priorities,
yeah.
this is what this needs to be done now, yes.
Yep.
Me and Drew have a meeting on the 13th, that we just took care of today, in September of the, people who did the KP, who did the facilities review.
Oh,
Yes,
KCBA,
yeah.
So,
yeah,
KP
yeah.
study,
Real
yes.
nice people.
So me and Drew will be sitting down with him and that team on the 13th for a lunch date.
Good.
So we'll be having
Good, because
more
neither of you were
information.
here.
Right.
I mean, you were, that's right, I didn't even think
Yeah.
about that.
I just
Great.
been reading, what's been on Doug's desk and the different state polices and the different things that we have. And now that me and Drew get to talk to them and meet with these gentlemen, which is gonna be great.
Yep,
Because, and also, I'm gonna bring Guy into that too. That's Ms. Milling know and Dr. Allen know about Guy. I'll fill you up with him tomorrow, we'll talk about that. But we'll bring Guy into it, because Guy was instrumental on everything that was going on in the high school. He was, the head and the leader of that, so that'll work.
ICS, conversation, but haven't really committed to KCBA.
yeah, but I think with Doug leaving, I think Guy would be okay with that. He's really nice. He's a really nice man.
Who's Guy?
Yeah.
Who's Guy?
Guy from Noresco. He was like the project manager of
Who's the
it.
lead, who's the point man?
So maybe what would be valuable with that is I know he's walked you through. Maybe what would be valuable in that is to go over what was left in the Giza that we didn't do
Yes.
and see how we connect that to
If it aligns
the
on anything
feasibility.
with the study,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's some of the things me and Doug was talking about, you know, different with the asbestos and different things of that aspect within the hospital. A couple of floor tiles, different things of that aspect. So some of the things we're taking care of in the summertime, but you know, not the big rain.
Right, yeah, right. So, I mean, just as far as, but I'm sure Guy would be okay with that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He's
Well,
really, really sweet.
Well, he wants to meet up with me again as well. Him and his partner, they want to set up something with me in September. That's another thing I wanted to bring you into as well, because that's a numbers game. So we were going, he actually put something together for me. I'm going to forward it to you.
Okay.
And it was some of the things that me and him talked about during the tour when he was there. Because there's so many different things that we can do now that can save so much money, and we would get so much money back from the state as long as we're following the energy lines of the state, what the state want as far as when it comes to just a lot of, not so much our water treatment, because that stands alone, that speaks for itself, but it's more so how we conduct our HVAC system, our lighting system, how we use our energy and our electric. Big thing at the hospital right now, I have to get a feasible report on our bucket list, because our bucket list is so old. When I mean old, it's 1969 survey at the hospital. JR did not want to touch it when they was doing the renovations, but of course they did, because they wanted the money. But it's something that definitely has to be addressed, and that's something that me and Doug was talking about, and that's free of charge. That's just them coming in and giving an overall assessment on what needs to be done with this particular, with the electric system that we have, which I call it the bucket list. I call it the bucket room. So yeah, so that's what everything is run off of. So if we can dial that back and get VFDs in there, variable speed motors, different things like that, that's more energy compliant.
Yep.
You're not using as much, and you get a lot of money back from the state and, different things of that aspect.
Not to mention,
that we
it
can
gets
tap
better
into.
life for
Oh,
whatever you're
definitely.
doing it with.
Oh, yeah,
it
that's
sure
right.
does.
I just think we want to be very clear that we are finishing what's, like you said, on the Giza, what was not done, what ECMs weren't done, where are we leaving off, and then a separate piece is the feasibility study of new things.
Yeah.
So my initial caution about Guy is, Guy works on the feasibility piece, and then is there a charge and/or something that's going to marry those two? Because the feasibility study was done with the hopes from KCVA
Right.
to continue to work with us. Whether they work together, I don't know. I just want to make sure that we're working in conjunction, have the full
Yes.
picture.
Right.
Have the full picture.
Yeah.
Because there are some ECMs out there, and having Doug no longer in the picture, that knowledge base right off the top of his head is not there. So I want to make sure we're maximizing that piece to it.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
that makes sense.
Mhm.
So we'll keep this on there.
Yep.
I'm not sure for next meeting if we want to pop it on the screen, you want to take a look at the high school piece, or whatever we think is helpful to keep.
I can put
I
that
think-
together, JJ.
Yeah,
I can put that together.
I think we're kind of all in agreement, like high
Yeah,
school's.
high school's next,
High school's
yeah.
next, so
Yeah,
let's narrow down the focus on that.
all right.
Drew, there's no plan con right now, right? There's no funds.
Nothing new,
Right.
no new projects.
Yeah. Right.
For new business, we discussed a 42-inch Jersey shaped barricades. We had some trees in Red Hill that
Well, let's stay on the first item. So what are the costs? And
Oh,
are they in the
yeah.
budget?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the
Explain the
barricades.
purpose and that type of thing. And is the high school the only place
It's my first time.
that's the plan? Is the high school the only place, I mean, we only talked about that one spot at the high school, the cordon off, the separation from the loading dock area to that back driveway. So is that the one, we're looking at two of them? Is there any other, I don't remember off the top of my head in terms of the other. I know there's spatial issues with, and I say that lightly, with security with the 4-5.
I was gonna say,
When I was there
4-5.
today, it was concerned, I was outside walking around and looking at the dumpsters, and, again, security's inconvenient. What I
Yeah.
kept hearing last year was, well, where are they gonna take the trash out of the 4-5 cafeteria if it's way off that way? That's a different, that's a conversation that probably needs to happen. I mean, do we want free access for anyone to drive in the back there? It's the same
Yeah.
Right.
conversation, so.
Right.
Right now, we talked about these two barriers specifically for the high school. I don't really think anything at the middle school is needed in terms of that level. Actually, at Hereford, we encourage cars to go into the playground area for morning drop-off. that's a part of the normal process. Whether that's good or not, I don't, unless we look at that, at her for safety and security piece, or if that's just, I know during the school day, they don't have access to that gate swings closed, so no one can get back there, so.
So you're thinking to come back next meeting with a
Well, I mean,
better overall picture?
I can answer the question, I don't even know what those cost, if that piece of plastic is probably gonna be a couple $1,000s, so.
Well, it's a couple of thousand, yes.
Right.
I have the quote right here, actually.
To get cheaper if we buy more?
Well, I had a gentleman quote me for 8, just for giggles. So for the 8, it was $2,500.
That's not bad.
For the total price that he was going to give us, because he threw in something else, was $2,200. So he was going to help us out there a little bit.
Okay.
I'm sorry, say it again.
What do they look
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah, good morning. Hi, Doc.
If you don't mind, Dr. Allen, I'll explain it just.
Back them up a second.
Here we go.
Oh, okay.
And that's 8 sections, that's how many we need is 8?
I think
And then-
I think at the high school you just need 2.
Yeah, just
We're
need
talking
2.
about closing off the area just past the loading dock in the back of the school, so people can't drive past there, park real close to the school by the cafeteria and that side road.
Under those trees.
Yeah, based upon the state report about vulnerability, and if someone wants to do something, then they can just go up, park their car, and walk away. That's part of it.
For each one, it's $300.29.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's not bad.
I don't know if this is a safety issue, but after school or sporting events, people park in front of those gym doors in the back.
And it's not, you were talking about that, we was at the high school at the game.
Where the dumpsters are, they park where the open spaces are.
That's where Dr. Allen wanted to use these for.
Yeah.
So if we want to do 2 of them, we're looking at close to about $700.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have to purchase them today.
No, no,
I mean,
no, no, no.
Just a matter of taking a look. I know we put them on here to discuss them, and again, it's all supported by the state police report. So we're meeting tomorrow, we can talk about it.
Yes, sir.
Again, if there's money in the budget, we want to make sure that that's there.
Yes, sir.
So just so I understand, so we're not going to permit people from parking in the back underneath those trees, but at the cafeteria end?
He wants it all blocked off.
Yeah.
Going up that hill.
Yeah, so that the other entrance has to get blocked off too.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, there's got to be a do not enter sign on that side. I don't know if you want to block it, because there is a reason to get there for the boiler area, car, something like that.
You're going to piss off some teachers. Just so you know. Just saying.
Well, unless they have some more things to do that the state police would approve of, then.
I'm just.
Safety concern.
Safety concern.
Come on, it's supposed to be a group effort here.
Yeah, you guys know.
Safety concern.
Yeah.
No, it's a practice that has to be changed.
Yeah. Something you always talk about.
Heck, yeah.
That's good. I think that's a good idea.
We'll make you the liaison then.
I am happy to do that. I could be a meter maid.
There you go.
Perfect. Tickets on cars.
Perfect.
So,
Be my Halloween costume.
cool. That's cool. So we have some trees at Red Hill that needs to be addressed. I had the township email me a few times. A couple of residents have emailed and voiced their concerns about the trees over at Red Hill. So if you're coming down up 8th Street, and if you're coming down 8th Street to where our back area was at, and I got some information about Doug. I spoke to Doug the other night, and Doug said that neighbor took down 10 of our trees on our property, to where Rodney and Doug had to go sit down with the gentleman, and that was an interesting conversation.
So this is on the far band parking lot area?
Yes, the far band.
So in that way, if you continue, you walk out of the band door, cross the parking lot over that way.
All the way over
They
there.
cut a tree, the resident cut some of our trees,
A lot.
and then, like I said, I didn't know. And then I don't know if there are other trees that people are calling about?
Yeah, they're calling about, well, we have 2 dead trees there that has to come down. Then we have one that's just blowing branches all on the sidewalk and different things of that aspect. When we had some bad weather.
The sidewalk up, is it at the end of the utility road?
No, sidewalk is literally where the trees are at. But
The
they're,
sidewalk on 8th Street?
yes, on the right-hand side. So you're coming down on the right-hand side, when you come in that area, where you talked about, where we go straight through, on the right-hand side. So we've been cleaning that up as far as the facilities.
Yeah, we'll have to go out there.
Yeah, we take
Yeah,
a
get
ride out
pictures
there.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
we'll take a ride out there.
So
So we've been cleaning that up
Are they
as
on
far as
Mr.
facilities.
Driscoll's property, is he want to take them down?
No, this is Red Hill.
It's right here.
Oh, Red Hill. Okay, so it's 11th Street.
Yeah.
No, it's actually 8th Street, I was just looking at the map. It's where that access road goes out to the alley.
Mhm.
8th Street is coming down along there, essentially.
Oh,
So it borders the homes where Peg is,
Yes.
that far
Yeah,
side.
it's Red Hill
If
Estates.
if we're
Oh,
looking at from the high school,
Yeah,
we're looking over to the
it's
right.
it's the oldest part of Red Hill Estates.
okay,
That's
got it.
where we saw that gentleman ride his car through.
I haven't seen
the
that.
high school.
I heard about it.
Yeah.
They're driving on our property.
They're
They
driving
get
on
that back of their parking lot, back of their.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Maybe need more of those Jersey boom.
Well, actually, me and Bonnie will go over there and talk to him and, see what we can,
Spike strips.
yeah, see.
Yeah, there you go.
Scott Cyclists back there.
Yeah, I believe that's the gentleman that rides, he has a pickup truck? Is it a pickup truck?
Well, it's not Scott, our employee.
Scott.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Scott, our employee.
Oh, okay,
Lives
okay.
there.
Okay, all right, okay. So,
You might know who it is.
so that's something that has to be addressed. They've been asking me about that since June, actually. Yeah, they've been asking about that since June.
Do we not have a fence? No?
No, we have nothing over there. That's just a wide open, beautiful field.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't know that that was our trees. Not about that.
Not
So
anymore.
trees-
Not
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's falling, actually, it's not falling to the people's property, sir. You know, it's falling on the pavement in the street when the wind comes. And then
That
we got-
one section around the
Yeah,
curve
we
there.
have one that curve, and then we got two dead trees right there to where they're afraid that they're gonna,
Yeah, I know, I can't.
Come on
picture
over.
it either.
Okay.
so they've been complaining about. So what we've done with the facility side, we've been doing some cleanup, and what I had the guys do is cut that back a little bit, but they're gonna have to actually come out.
Okay.
I did get a quote on that, the quote was $6,500 for to cut the trees down and to, grind all the stumps.
Okay.
Yeah, $6,500.
Can you say who you got it from?
Um,
Was it Beyond Relief?
it was,
Is there a-
tree. So, he did some work for us at the 4 or 5. He was much cheaper than that at the 4 or 5 now. What's that gentleman's name? BUSO?
Oh, so,
Yeah, Busso Tree Service. Yeah. So, I was gonna have Scotty from Clean Up, Tidy Up, who does our lawns, give him a shout and see if he can go over there and give me a better number.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll have another number by that tomorrow.
That's a great idea.
CS Cal,
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of too.
CS,
CS Cal. I can actually give you his information.
excellent.
He was just at my house.
I was just gonna say, wasn't he just at your house?
He was here this afternoon, yeah. Because I know Beyond Relief is like,
They're really expensive.
yeah,
Yeah.
I got one even more expensive than Davy.
Oh, wow, okay. We moved, parking location for the district vans, we moved them. We moved them to the back of the hospital area. We was able to, use one of the cameras that we had that was existing, since we did new cameras this year that Doug put together for the hospital. We was able to use one of the old cameras and focus on that.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Great.
JR did us a solid, I love JR Electric, they always really does us a solid. So we was able to move the vans away from the, maintenance guys area as well as the trainers area, because that was a very congested area. Things was happening, a lot of people was getting upset, so we was able to move them back. And I know the reason why the vans was there, because the Cadillac Diverter was sold out of there, I figured last year it was, or the year before that.
Yep.
So we was,
Last year.
so we dedicated a camera strictly for that.
Perfect.
So there's no more
Great.
problems there. Also, the vans, they have their own numbers and they have their own slots.
Oh,
So
okay,
they,
good.
the way they go in, it's perfect for special education or anything like that. Come right out through the back and just go where they need to go.
Okay.
So
Good.
Jim seemed to love it, everybody seemed to like that. Of course, the high school basketball gym is something that we're going to talk about. In 2024 to 2025 budget, getting a new floor on that. Marlboro Elementary Playground fence request for the playground. I was able to get 4 quotes on that. The cheapest quote I got on that was $8,300. So that's something that, I know that for a safety aspect of that particular area.
So this is up on top of the playground.
Kids.
Right now, there's fence, it's a little, it's, the fence part bubbles a little bit because it's, I guess when they push the snow off, it goes into the fence. It's incomplete by
It's a big
design.
one, yeah.
It's got some open areas, so I think
Yeah.
part of this is to complete it. But it's also to tie it to the building, so they're kind of corralled in with the ability to have open areas, to be able to open the area to get out. This is the fence on top of the playground.
Yeah.
So as you have this on here, I also want to mention the fence out along the street, which is one, an eyesore, but two, something that has stopped students from eloping and getting out that way. That for some reason they do stop at that fence, even though it looks like an eyesore coming down. And I know Mrs. Stephen brought this to you. Mr. Vigilante has been talking for a couple of years about a fence at 4-5 to help assist with traffic going through there. So I was going to leave that one screen up to show you what we're talking about. Because I want you to make sure you have a full picture, not just one, there's only one fence issue.
Yeah.
There it is. So this is the playground for 4-5. So if you think about looking over here, there's going to be the
That's where the fields are, right?
field, right? There's a
Yeah.
field there, and there's a backfield, and all along that backfield coming like this way is a fence, and it kind of ends at the corner there. He would like a fence that stays right on this line of the shrubbery that would go all the way down to as far as our property, and make a left-hand turn and come all the way up. That way you can't cross over from the apartment complex that's over there.
Right.
But it's not a cattle chute where it's real confined on this area.
Right.
It's still wide open, but and then, so the fence, when it comes across this way, if you're coming from that area, you have to walk along the fence to get up to at least the parking lot and or the alleyway to make your way across, right? The reality is people are gonna walk directly to Walmart, right? They're gonna go past the least resistance,
Yeah.
straight across.
Right.
And they do that when we have kids out there.
Yeah, that's not right.
So, as we're having this conversation, we have the full conversation about, he's been asking for swings, and we did that. But the same conversation about a fence, which is very far back, and I took some other pictures, but since you had this picture, I think you guys can picture what we're talking about. It's not real confined up against, it's kind of up against the shrubs. It goes as far as, it kind of just outlines our property. Kids play beyond where the swings are. They play in that field, and it's all kind of contained down there. So that may be something, and that's a much higher fence. That's probably an 8-foot fence that's up along there. Now, don't forget, so if we go over here again, over here, so the softball field is here and the football field's there. There's another baseball field. Then beyond that is the fence that's in ill repair, where somebody was living down there in that fence area for a little while, because we got a call about this mysterious guy that was coming in and out of there. So, anyway, this is in town there, so that was the same conversation. So I knew this was going to be out for Marlboro. We all know, we've been talking about it for a couple of years, the Marlboro outdoor fence, whatever that kind of fence is along the street, which is like a
Split rail.
spin rail, spin rail, yeah, which I know we tried when the first 2 years, Doug was trying to keep,
It's a
he
mess.
didn't repair it.
Yeah.
And it's not small, but again, it's still important because of the balls and, that area there. But this is also one to put on the radar. I don't think Hereford has any fencing issues that I'm aware of, and not so much middle or high school. But I wanted to give you the full picture of fencing. So I don't know if we want to get other quotes, or we just need to prioritize things.
Yeah, me and Art was talking about that as well, and when me and Art was out there, actually, spent a good 45 minutes because we walked and everything. And I went farther back where Dr. Allen was pointing out, because me and Dr. Allen talked about it too. But I wanted to see it for myself, so me and Art walked it. And as we was walking there, you saw people literally just coming out of the bookboard.
And there are students that come. I was out this morning,
Yeah.
actually with the security officer, security guard, and sure enough, we just saw a student coming up. They kind of make their own. They came right through there and walked up the pathway. So,
Well, the railroad tracks are back there, people walk the tracks.
Yeah.
You know,
And then you have that new community
yeah.
area over there
Yeah.
with the homes
Yeah.
for apartments.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I just needed to make sure I added that it wasn't just Marlboro, that there's been fence conversations
Yeah.
at 4-5, and then the obvious fence, that is the eyesore going up
Have we
there.
gotten that one quoted?
I don't know.
I'm actually, they did, and I'm scared to say the number.
To me, when I see that, I think about our community, I'm like, there's gonna be
I
an
know,
Eagle
it's
Scout,
like,
an Eagle Scout,
They need a big fence, yeah.
because that,
Which one are you talking about?
the Marlboro
Marlboro, the
split rail.
outside.
Well,
fence,
well, if memory serves, I believe Doug told us the problem was the shale.
Yeah.
Being able to
big.
Well, and that's funny you said that, because I was on the phone with another gentleman that Jim actually knows, and now he does fencings for farms. And he was saying something that can be repaired. We have to dig down more, we have to come up with the fence, dig down more, and then stabilize everything, if we want that look.
Oh, God.
Now, he says that would be cheaper rather than replacing everything, because you're pulling up the posts.
Yeah, those
and
poles,
then
I mean,
pounding the
those poles
posts
look like
back
they're
down.
rotted or.
Right.
As soon as you try to pull them up or something,
Sure,
there's a company or something.
Yeah, I mean, you drive past and you see a section down, and it's like,
Yeah.
did a car hit it versus did someone just try
The
to
wind.
step over?
Uh-huh.
So-
Some probably make that type of fence in the, and I'm gonna say PVC
Yes,
type material.
that's what he was talking
But it
about.
probably costs a fortune.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that's great.
And I just
It'll-
bought,
it'll
I just
last
bought
20
4
years.
by 4 posts made out of that.
Mhm.
They're $30 for an 8-foot
Mhm.
post.
Yeah.
Well,
But
what-
man, they never
Well, you
What
want-
was it? I want to hear.
Well, one number I got was 48,000.
That's all? Oh, I'm surprised.
Yeah, one number was 48,000.
For what style of fence for?
For pretty much what we have out there. I was
Split
going
rail.
to change it
It's a
to.
split rail.
Yeah, it's a split rail.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't know that you.
I'm not personally, but maybe the community is tied to that split rail thing, but I mean, I think a barrier there is helpful to have.
I
Definitely.
think it's the essence of the, you know, olden days
I
kind
got
of
you.
thing. You know, like the park,
Yeah.
you know, the settlers coming.
Is there still a letter missing on that sign?
I think so,
Oh,
yeah.
no, really? I haven't been by there in a while.
One of the letters on the sign is.
Yeah.
I always thought we needed to have some type of barrier running along 29, if not for looks, for
No, I mean, it-
deterring, you know, certainly anyone trying to
If
drive
Miss
through.
if Miss Stevens were here, if it was between what's there and nothing, leave what's there. Like,
Right.
like she has said, it's been 2 or 3 times in her tenure where someone was going and they got close and were like,
Oh.
what's this thing?
Yeah.
And they, you know, that, and they, you know how kids want to go, but they don't really want to go, that thing.
Well, I just think of cars.
No, 100%.
Yeah, if you had nothing there, can you imagine a car just?
Oh, yeah.
No, what I would imagine is they would be parking there
Oh, yeah.
for
Yeah, so-
soccer.
Oh,
You know, they-
yeah.
You
You're
pull
right.
right in, you know,
Oh, yeah,
kind of like what they do on Wall Road.
sure.
So, anyway, I'm sorry to derail that, but when you brought up this
No
fence, I think you need to
problem.
look
The
at all
other
3 of
one,
those.
too.
Yeah.
And those other 2 that are part of the overall package. So, maybe, I don't know, Drew, if there's 3 fencing projects going at once, if you
Oh,
can bid
Jesus
them
Christ.
together different,
Oh, geez.
or just at least have an idea of what can be done this year, what can be done the following year, that way you can budget appropriately for that type of.
But yeah, let's find out how much this one will cost.
Okay. I'm gonna find out, okay. 4
4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's no
That's-
way of bringing this fence tighter to the playground.
You could,
Mhm.
you could. I
Yeah,
think
you
the
could.
concern was that if you put just a fence around the playground, and you only had one entrance, and something were to happen at that one entrance, then no one could go anywhere. This is much more open, it's a kind of that barrier, at least that was the initial conversation.
Well, I was thinking about the transients who walk through there to go maybe to Walmart
Right.
or to live on the railroad tracks or
Yeah.
whatever, and giving them a path back there, so you're not forcing them to walk along the fencing and up and
Could be.
around.
I don't know, yeah, I'm not sure.
Give them an outlet.
If you had them in out, it would be right by the backstop of the softball field. If you pulled the fence off the shrub line, and pull it, even if you put it,
Take-
yeah, even if you put it 5, 6, 7 feet, so to still have enough room, they would have to come out somewhere, because the fence that goes way down towards in the field is tight against the shrubs.
Yeah.
That may be enough, but I think that if they would, again, passive leaf resistance, you're gonna get to that thing, you're gonna go right across softball field. But
Yeah.
That was something to look at.
Walk on that this weekend, maybe.
Operations contract is renewed, on renewal for $12,580 per year. That's for all our chill water. That's what keeps everything clean, keeps Green Lane off of us,
Yep.
all that good stuff. That's something we don't mess with. That's a chemical treatment for our pump houses. You know, that's a big thing for us. So we was, had to get that renewed.
So we're gonna be asking to put that on the September 14th agenda.
That's the Marlboro.
That's for all of it.
That's everybody.
That's for all of it. That's for any chill water that we're running through our closed loop.
Okay.
That has to be treated on a monthly basis. So it's ostracized, different type of parasites, what keeps that water clean and not clogs up our tubes in our
Okay,
system.
you would say Green Lane, so it's.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. It all connects.
From what I was told.
Does the committee want to see that that contract. We had,
Kyle looked at it.
Kyle's already looked at it.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
If our attorneys
He's good with
looked at
that?
it, no.
Say again?
If the attorneys looked at it.
He has looked at it
Yeah.
and said he had no problems with it.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the
Okay,
same.
we'll put it on for the 14th, we'll put it on, you can see it on the draft agenda.
Okay.
Pollution and insurance policy for discussion at the finance committee.
So this was the item that we talked about at finance, that we're going to let it lapse and then have a greater conversation. I think the trouble that most of us here, even the veteran board member doesn't remember bringing it into existence for was mold remediation, but it was also the concern, Drew, help me out, with the tanks,
Yes.
Yeah, so
That's-
the underground tanks.
with the underground tanks, so it's.
Would also be covered with this policy. So, you know, Craig and I have been talking, I think there's maybe a bigger discussion about these tanks.
Yeah. They're gonna reach back out to me tomorrow about that, what you said yesterday. I spoke to them briefly today.
Okay,
One of the tanks that we're looking to decommission is the one at Hereford. Hereford, we don't use Hereford, propane in Hereford. So we switched all that to propane. We have 1,000 gallons in Hereford's tank, so we might just take that oil out and decommission that.
That's
Get that
oil?
off the
Yeah.
insurance,
Oil?
yes, yes. And just get that off the insurance. That'll drop our insurance, we'll save some money on that because we're not adding that on there.
I'm gonna buy the fence.
There you go. Sure, it's one for one.
And then Drew gave me Drew's been great at with this. Drew gave me a phone number, well, I actually emailed to where I've been going back and forth with the state. So you might be able to get some help from the state as well.
yeah, so they have the underground, it's called the USIF, Underground Storage Tank Indemnification Fund, I think it's called. My history, that's how they covered their tanks. So instead of a separate policy, you can pay that. Again, I asked Craig to sort of look into that to see what the pricing is, but then you wouldn't need, you know, if you're worried about the underground tanks, it's $50,000, you know, for this coverage, whereas it should be a lot cheaper, you know, through the state just to get those tanks covered.
Yeah.
But again, it's a much more comprehensive policy than that. So, you know, that's kind of where we were kind of left.
Yeah, I'm jumping all over that. I speak with the gentleman tomorrow. He couldn't talk to me today too much. We started briefly. I sent him some information. I sent him some testing that we had on our tanks. Everything passed. So he's going to review that, then he's going to get back to me. We're going to have a conversation tomorrow. So I'll have more information on that.
And me and you'll talk about that.
So what does the committee need to continue to consider, or not consider, or just put it to rest in terms of the policy piece? We hear about we're going to bring back information about the tanks. Are we comfortable with not having the insurance side of that on the M issue? Mold. Because that was a part of this. Now, we're trying to be respectful, right? So, but I saw the blank stare, like, what are you talking about? So, because I don't, you know, I know we feel more comfortable with what goes on now with the humidity and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And that was a $100,000 retainer for, remember how much the,
1,000 deductible,
It's
wasn't
for
it?
sorry, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, sorry,
Yeah.
retainer, that's what I meant to do.
Yeah, for either one of if it was $1 million, $3 million, or $5 million policy, it's, you know, still $100,000 per incident for mold.
Yeah, that's it.
And
For that fungal infection.
Yeah, at any building.
it would, yeah.
And each incident, so. Per incident.
Per
Huh?
incident,
Per
yes.
incident. Oh,
So
like-
if you had more than one,
No, not per,
you're multiplying that by the number. So,
yeah.
I think with all the studies we've done in the past few years and the improvements that have been made, I don't think we really need it right now unless we can come up with something in our documentation here that would warrant it. You know, and the fact that we had this and we don't know how long we've had it and we've never used it for any incidences that have occurred over the past few years. It's a waste of money.
What's the point? Yeah. As
Well-
long as we maintain.
Well, Doug did.
That's it.
Doug did right.
But we are
That's a
now.
great point.
Yeah,
But we do that now.
And Doug did a fantastic job of setting that stuff up.
Yep.
When he was here, to where it made it much more easier for the questions that Drew had for me to research that and get right back to him the answers. So, you know, so it was more, so as long as, I think maintenance is everything and upkeep is everything.
Yeah.
As long
So
as
that's
we
what
stay
it
on
is,
it.
yeah, it's like, again, I don't know what I don't know.
And keep
in
our
this area.
contracts
But
up. we're
Well,
fine.
that's just it. We're in a position now where we've been rectifying and maintaining
Right.
Yep.
equipment and buildings now.
6 years.
ago, I mean, seriously, 6 years ago, when Melanie came on the board and I was just going to meetings, we were going to these meetings and you had a list there of the 5-year plan, and the first page were items that had rolled 3 years already.
Yeah,
And I won't name what was on those rolling for those years,
a lot of
but it
things.
cost us money over the past few years. And one of the things with these plans is we have to be diligent in adhering to them. Anything that rolls, it's great that we do stuff in-house, but anything that rolls for 2 years, guess what? Contract it out and get it done,
Somebody's gotta do it.
because if it's rolled twice, it's gonna roll again and not get done, and that's what happened to us.
Yeah.
So,
You know, I'm very passionate on my contract.
It was pretty much to the point where if one classroom in one school got new VCT carpeting, that was it. That was it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
We're
It's not
doing
good at all.
Much better now. I had some
Sure.
Nexus come out recently because we've been getting several alarms.
Okay.
And I know all the money that the district has spent with Connexus. Why is it that I'm getting 750 alarms in a weekend?
Did we figure that out?
Oh, yeah, we're figuring it
Okay,
out. Yeah, we're
just
figuring-
checking.
Let's just say we're figuring that.
Yep.
That's cutting down very slowly but surely.
Okay.
Day 7 days, I don't know what you said to them, but I only got 5 alarms this week. And I was like, yeah, we working on it.
Good.
So on that item, Craig, you're gonna bring back information on the tanks, that's what.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah.
yeah, I'll have all that taken
So
care of.
are we still good with then with
Letting
letting
it
it
lapse.
lapse? I mean, I am.
I think
I'm
so,
good with
yeah.
it. No.
Everything passed. We had no leaks, everything is tight, everything is good. The 2 tanks that is operable that we do use is the one in Marlboro when we need to, and we use the one at the hospital. I'm sorry, not at the hospital, no. At Hereford, if
Yeah.
we need to. So we're
do
good.
either of you see any benefit to us continuing it?
To be honest with you, as long as we have the inspections that we have, and the gentleman comes down and does his inspections, we're good.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear if Craig can hear back from the state about that plan, because
Yep.
that would be my concern, is just those tanks. Again, not that we expect anything to happen, but an underground tank leaking, that's,
Oh, that's a whole nother game.
Yeah.
No, don't say that. Please don't say that. I've been there, done that. That's a whole nother
Yeah.
game.
this just seems like a little too
Yeah, that's a whole
comprehensive.
nother, yeah.
Right.
That's a whole nother game.
And I made sure that our levels was working. We had a couple of different valves that needed to be replaced, so I got that done. We got some dollars that was out of date, so I replaced that. So we're actually, you can walk into our facility now and look at that dial and knows what that tank is doing.
Good.
Know how much is in there, it gives you an
It's a real
overall
number.
picture.
Yeah.
Right. It gives you an overall picture as a contractor, you can see that and say, okay, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that just gives more of that.
Okay.
All right.
And that's all, and of course, in the senior parking, spot request for payment.
We'll do that one.
And
That's interesting.
That's all that I
That's a
have.
good idea.
It's a neat idea, you're right, though, there's some issues with it, but we get the issues sorted out. I still think the juniors should be the ones cleaning it up for
Well-
themselves the next year.
I was gonna say before Dr. Allen jumped in, I can't have my custodian staff do that.
No,
We are
there's
too
too much.
busy.
I don't want to pay for
Sometimes.
custodial staff to do that.
We are too busy, and some, Dr. Allen said it the best, one thing I've learned in the summertime, and I'm seeing, some schools are running up against the deadline, other schools have more free time, so I was able to move around some things and get,
Everything done.
At a faster,
Right.
that's a better way, yes.
We'll just see what they come back with for a better cleanup plan.
They're coming back next.
Yeah, but we can't put
Yeah.
anything on my custodians. We can't do that.
No, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, they had a lot of work, yes.
Well, that are increasing costs also.
Right,
Increased costs every year.
yep.
Just make sure you tell them who brought that topic up.
I'm sure I will, sir. I'll make sure you get all the flowers.
Because you were sitting all quiet out there.
No, I was gonna wait till they
Yeah,
get
with the light.
I was gonna wait till they get it's my first time.
This is my first
It's my first time.
All right, now you're a veteran. so
Now I'm a veteran.
you're
No
on.
more
excuses.
Food is over.
You should have heard him trying to get out of having to deal with the May minutes. I said, I wasn't at that meeting. I said, doesn't matter. Figure it out.
That's why I said it on the video.
That's it, you go to the video.
That's right.
I got my admin secretary now, so I'm good.
That's it.
Yes,
All right.
I'm blessed. But everything else is good. Any public comments?
Bernie?
How about you, sir?
Yeah, a couple of things. Well, probably not in here. We have a JV softball field that, since we don't have a JV, has been idle for, right in back of the concession stand. They have dugouts. Is it feasible for the middle school to play over there versus that field that they have?
Would that be something, would Bobby have to answer that?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so.
I would love to see the middle school teams move, that are at the 4 or 5 building moved back to the campus, either to the middle school or the high school campus.
Could that be something that we can discuss and develop a plan for that?
Yeah.
Well, that could be a part of the feasibility study, because there was discussion about additional fields on the front side or what type of thing. I think you have to really, I know softball's been played on that other field. At one point in my tenure here, there was a request to make that the varsity field. I didn't know what made the other
At
field.
one time it was,
Right,
that's what I
okay.
played on.
Right. So, and I don't know if that would be a whole nother world of conversation with Walt Graber Road and what that looks like. If you've already played on it, then it's been there, but I'm sure, we have, there's a lot of balls there because people don't give them back. But that, at least some barriers there or what that would look like.
The beast.
Definitely.
It would be feasible for middle school softball, because they're not whacking the ball all over the place, but, you know.
It definitely looks like there's enough for a full, the full 200 yards for the.
You don't need it. I mean, for middle school, you don't.
Right.
And then the baseball field in the back behind Tribe, you could put middle school baseball there. And I'm sure there's a way to work out football.
That's something I want to.
So the only thing about that is those backfields is how do you get all those parents to them?
Right.
They're doing it now. They play JV soccer back there. People are walking.
Yeah, they had a game today, and they just walked back.
People
So
are huffing
the
it.
visitors will ask, how do you get back there? We'll just.
And we say, I don't know.
They'll go groan a little bit about it, but, you just.
And don't step on Mr. Spano.
There was a JV soccer game in the back there.
There was, yes.
I haven't been back there in a while. Again, I think my first year here, the baseball field itself was.
Well, I guess the advantage,
I don't think it's since.
the advantage of that is it's not all day to wait for varsity to get done and then JV to play, right?
Right.
Friends can come to games.
What do you mean,
The
varsity?
spot between the middle school parking lot and the backstop is, I see irrigation.
Yep,
For what reason?
that's our whole underneath the middle school, because it's on a swamp, is a very elaborate system. And when you see the water spray,
Yeah.
that's from everything. That's from underneath everything.
Recycle.
Oh, to keep the water out of there? Yeah.
It is elaborate.
Yeah.
It's recycled water too, sir.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
recycle.
Well, I'm sure we have wells, right?
Totally recycled water, yeah.
At this softball field, there, I think they had a brush cutter in there, they cut some of that tree line back.
Okay,
Next to it on the right, on the first base side.
the new softball field.
The varsity.
The varsity.
Varsity,
Okay.
yeah. We lose a lot of balls on there, and even with the retention basin, there's no real,
Detention basin.
yeah.
Detention.
Retention?
Detention.
Yeah, detention, yeah. I mean, it's probably minimal dollars for Bobby, but, I mean, there's poison ivy in there, I know
Yeah,
they cut
that's
some
gross
back.
back
The
there.
school
I was
district.
just wondering if we could put up, a net like they do
At the end of Tribe.
in Tribe, where the soccer balls won't go out like into the
At the,
retention basin,
The west
that's
end
the
of
end of Tribe.
And that's at the high school?
yeah, the west end of Tribe. The tall netting that's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We
on
probably
both
need something
sides.
like that at softball, because Bernie's absolutely right. There's probably 1 million softballs in that
Yeah.
marshy area that we're
Okay.
never gonna see again.
I'll speak to Bobby about that. Yeah, his thoughts, and that's something I can bring back.
That's it off the top of my head.
Okay.
It didn't come to write things
Well, that
down,
same
but-
fencing was discussed about on Tribe when they go 7-on-7 the other way, so it avoids going to the houses. And I think there was a price quote from the previous,
A lot, probably, based on what it was for the tennis courts,
yeah,
a lot.
40,000 sticks in my
Yeah,
house.
that tall, that
was a lot.
extensive, yeah, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
Craig, getting back to the high school parking lot,
Yes, sir.
since I do rentals,
Public comment.
we have,
Beaver City.
we have the handicap spots painted to a certain point. Now, people are parking beyond that and almost to the cones, the entrance of the walkway.
Okay.
And then you got that little spot beyond that where the grass starts,
Yes, sir.
they park in there
They
too.
park in there too.
Probably need.
Now, that's
Yeah,
for,
it's more blind.
this is for non-school things. I mean, nobody, school parks there, but yeah.
Signage and.
Well, walk into my car from Friday night, they park.
Oh, well, Friday night was
Oh, yeah,
the
they're
exception, right?
There's literally parking on the
No,
ground.
it's not even football. I mean, at any home, back to school night,
Yeah, yeah.
concerts,
yeah.
whatever it is, I mean, they, you know,
Find a spot.
yeah,
On the grass.
whatever,
The
whatever.
closer the better.
So let me ask you a quick, while I have your attention on that, do you want to develop some type of signage in some type of direction to where that is not tolerated? Or is that something that, you
I don't
know,
think it's gonna matter.
you don't think it's gonna-
Everybody does it.
You can put a sign up, you put a sign up, who's gonna
The
enforce it?
the metal, the metal,
Yeah.
the metal stakes that you had at the high school football entrance to get to the stadium with the rope that was through the circles,
Yeah.
that type of thing, which can, what I've seen, you guys, we've done it here, down on Walt Road, to make sure people don't park on for lack of a better term, the field hockey field that's there paralleling the back of the right field from the baseball stadium. That could help,
Okay,
but I'm not sure where the cars are gonna go.
okay.
Would a sign help at the start, at the beginning of that road that says a private driveway?
There is one there, on Walt,
Oh, there is.
on Graver Road, on Walt Graver?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm talking, they don't park, so once in a while people go down Walt Graver. I went down one time and got scared, I drove out like this, thinking I was gonna.
Yeah, it's not me.
But, as you go past, right past the tennis courts, there's the little gravel to the, just right
Yeah,
there.
for the,
They start,
pole barn.
they start,
Yeah,
okay.
Then they start
I got
making
you.
lefts in there.
I got you.
Then we get calls from the neighbors saying, kids are gonna get hit, because they're kids, they come out, they think they're in a parking lot in their own street.
Gotcha.
And right across the street is the open parking lot.
Yeah.
But that's
yeah,
again
I
too
see.
far.
Yeah.
Well, that's right at the pole barn.
Yeah, right.
But that's where in the past,
Yeah,
that's where in the past,
exactly.
Doug did put up those type of, because I thought those barriers were nice. There was, it was a metal stake, and then it had a little hoop at the top, and the string went through, and it was, you cordoned people exactly where they needed to go
Yeah.
in there.
How
That's
about
what
like,
we, that's what we were.
Yeah, and that was not, it wasn't permanent, but it worked for the event.
I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about, because I showed Bobby something on that.
how about like road spikes?
Now, the part past the handicap that I was talking about,
Yes, sir.
when I do a rental, since there's probably enough new cones across there now, I take a couple, and I put one at the very end of the last
Oh, you're.
handicap spot
Oh, I got
to the pole, and that people don't.
I
But
had
then
to-
you got the other side, so.
I have the perfect thing for that. I was working with Bobby on something, I know exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
I think I showed Ms. Moyer, because I had to order it off of Amazon. Yeah, I know exactly what they're looking for.
and what it does, it comes with, the chain link.
Actually, Bobby liked the idea better because everything was just in uniform.
So I'll show you, yes. Let me pull that up, see if I can pull that up real quick.
Thank God for the snow cones and Pride, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
I mean, inside the stadium. Every time I look, they're either on the turf or back against.
While Craig's doing that, any comments from the community members?
Nothing off the top of my head. Be happy to see the Giza meshed in with the feasibility and
Yeah.
see where we go with that. I
Yeah,
think
that
that's,
should definitely help out.
we need to work on that.
Create our short-term, long-term plan.
Mhm. Yeah, we need to work on that.
Anything else from you?
No, I'm sure in the beginning of the meeting, Craig talked about the hallway at the high school.
Yeah, it looks great.
Pictures?
It's beautiful.
Yes.
It's amazing what a little bit of paint can do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Well, you do when you paint a room, it helps with Pride.
Yeah.
it does.
And then we're gonna work on signage outside the gym, auditorium entrance.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's something I was speaking to Mr. JP about. See his thoughts on that.
I will check that. Probably.
They're 24, 34 inches. They're adjustable post-traffic cones, safety cones for a parking lot construction road. They're 5 foot. It comes with a chain already. 6 come in a pack. They're about this high, and they just, it's a real good look.
What's
See
this
if I-
for?
See if I can pull it. What we were talking about as far
We're at
as,
the spot, we're between the last handicap spot and the walkway.
see if I can find that. And Bobby also wanted some of that for his games too, to keep people back off the fields.
Well, that setup down at Tribe needs to be replaced.
What?
That rope setup down at Tribe needs to be replaced. To keep the spectators back.
That's what Bobby was saying.
Yeah,
It's just a rope and some, whatever.
Sure.
yeah, yeah.
I was gonna say spit. Had the same idea.
So this is pretty much what That's pretty much what it looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Something simple.
Yeah.
And you can weigh it down with sandy, the water, and
Yeah.
it just keeps
Yeah.
it nice and uniform. I can also get the school colors too if you like.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. All
Say
right.
something come in the pack for $35.
That's $35? Oh, that's not bad. Yeah.
Okay, with that, I look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Motion carries. Oh, next meeting is the 25th at 7, at 6,
Oh, it's at 7.
7 PM.
There you go,
Oh,
Mr.
that's right, because policy will be.
Look at Mr.
Oh.
No, we,
Yeah, I think it's a win-win situation, you know.
I didn't look that far
This was
ahead.
something simple. This was something simple, and that's